Blog Talk Radio.
Hey people, this is Chris, and I'm going to be introducing everyone before we say the special guest of today. So, first I'll have to play this for my good friend, for King Baka! Okay, go.
Hello, gentlemen, this is Emir Hashmouth123, and welcome to the radio show.
Hello, this is WWE TNA Guru 123, and hope you enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it's Eric, aka Cool Nerd. Hope you guys enjoy today's show.
I want to introduce the special guest. So, special guest, say your name, man.
It's the Steel City Prodigy, Ryan Mitchell out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
No problem. So let's start off and start asking some questions. So anyone wants to shoot up first? Anyone wants to say anything first?
Well, okay. I'll go first. That's okay. Oh, I saw your resume, and it was showed that you were trained by Dory Funk. What was he like as a trainer? What did he actually what did he teach you and add to your skills?
Actually, I wasn't trained by Dory Funk. I worked for Dory Funk on his television show for it. I was actually trained by Rocky Johnson, WWE Hall of Famer, The Rock's father, and my initial training was with a guy named John Davis, who's one half of the Dark City Fight Club now in Ring of Honor. And then once I moved on from him, I started working for Dory, and then was scouted by Rocky on one of Dory's shows, and Rocky completed my training before I went into the developmental system in WWE. So I was actually trained by Rocky, not Dory.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
So is there anything about the Rocky that most people might not know about that you might want to say?
Yeah, you know what, absolutely. There's a lot of things about Rocky that people don't know. I mean, he is one of the greatest men, just life-wise, not just in the wrestling business. I mean, the guy let me move into his house. I lived in his house literally with him for 3-4 months while he trained me. I didn't pay for anything. He fed me, he gave me a place to live. And he trained me 3 times a day. And in the morning we were in the gym. In the afternoon we were in the ring, and in the nighttime we were in the gym again. And all between we were, eating to get bigger, and we were, studying tapes and talking about promos, and just practicing talking, and learning about psychology. I mean, the guy just literally for 3 months I had maybe 2 or 3 days off where we didn't do anything, and everything else was just 100% the business. And I wouldn't be the wrestler or the person that I am today if it wasn't for Rocky. Rocky's just, probably one of the best people in the wrestling business, and he definitely does not get credit for the type of guy that he is.
Good.
I have a question. How did you get into the wrestling business? Like, what made you want to become a professional wrestler?
I don't remember not wanting to be a wrestler. When I was the first memory I remember is WrestleMania 3. I remember it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember anything else from that time of my life. You know what I mean? Because I was so young. But I do remember. I actually remember WrestleMania 3. I remember laying on the floor and watching it with my dad and my mom and a bunch of the kids in town. We all would get together and watch the wrestling events at my house because we had a bigger TV and a bigger living room, so everybody got together at my house to watch the pay-per-views, or it wasn't pay-per-view back then, but watch the events. And I always wanted to do it, but the problem was I was 6'3" and I'm naturally about 160 pounds, so I was a beanpole. You know what I mean? So I joined the Navy and got stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was flying with the Navy, and when I was down there, I had hurt my kidney. When I was running, I fell, I hit something, and my kidney got hurt. So when your kidneys aren't functioning right, you can't fly. So the Navy had me not flying, and I didn't fly for about 6 months. So basically all I did was, showed up at work, and I sat there. I didn't do anything. Well, one of my buddies was like, hey, in the Navy, they teach you how to work out. When you're in the officers program, they need you to be, physically fit. So they teach you how to work out. They teach you how to eat. So I was getting bigger. At this point, I made maybe 185, 190 pounds. So I'm starting to look a little bigger. And my buddy goes, hey, man, there's indie wrestling. And this was really my first introduction to independent wrestling. And he goes, why don't you come to this school in Jacksonville, Florida is where I was. He's like, and they'll teach you how to do it, and you can make a little bit extra money on the weekends. And, me still being naive about it, I was like, I'm never going to make a living doing this. I was like, I'm just going to go and do it because I'm bored in the Navy, so I'll go and do it while I'm in the Navy. So I went, and that's when I met up with John Davis, who, like I said, is now in Ring of Honor, with Corey Chavez as the Dark City Fight Club. And him and another guy named Dagan Briggs trained me initially, and then I started working shows out of Jacksonville while I was still in the Navy. And, you know, that was how I broke in.
Yeah. One of the questions I want to ask is, who is the best person you've worked with?
Can somebody repeat that? I was really hard to hear.
Who is the best person you've worked with in the ring?
Oh, my goodness, that's a loaded question. I've worked with so many great people. I would say probably one of the guys I have the most chemistry with is, you know, like we were talking about right before the show went on the air, is Scotty Gash. The Spotlight Scotty Gash. He's out of Pittsburgh from Baltimore, Maryland. And he's a phenomenal worker. We actually just had a match. My last match was with him. We did one for Championship Wrestling Experience in Ohio. And we're really good friends in real life, but it makes that chemistry in the ring, you know what I mean? And we don't even have to talk to each other. We can just tell by body language what's going to happen next, you know what I mean? So I would say definitely, as you guys saw, some of my best matches have been with him. You know, and I've worked with Corey Chavez, like I said, he's the other half of the Fight Club in ROH, and I've worked with him, and he was one of my first learning experiences because I was very green when I worked with him. And then there's always, you know, Dagan Briggs, who was one of the initial guys that trained me. He was always, you know, I always learned something from him. And then there's two guys that really hit home for, you know, as far as to make me understand, you know, how to put a match together. And that's Blaine Rage out of Jacksonville, Florida. He actually works for Dory Funk. And Jerry Lynn, actually. Jerry Lynn, he's like a guidance counselor in the ring. You know, he talks to you like he's not even breathing hard, and just from wrestling Jerry Lynn, I mean, I went straight from wrestling Jerry Lynn into a program with Blaine, and those two guys really are what gave me at least the foundation for psychology. It was after working with those two guys that I started really understanding, you know, okay, this is how this works. You know what I mean? So definitely, you know, like I said, Dagan Briggs, John Davis, Corey Chavez, Blaine Rage, and then, again, some of my best matches were with Scott, so.
Oh, okay, I got a question. How was your experience, and can you kind of tell us what it was like to be in All Japan Pro Wrestling?
By far, even beyond WWE, because like I said, when I was in WWE, I was only in developmental. I wasn't there very long. All Japan was my best experience in wrestling. It was fantastic. I mean, you get off the plane, Japan, and there's press there waiting for you. You know what I mean? It was phenomenal. It was like everything that you think wrestling's going to be like as a kid. You know what I mean? You go over there. You know, I lived in the dojo with the other Japanese young boys, which is what they call the younger, you know, the guys that aren't established stars. They're we'd call them green over here, but it doesn't apply over there because there's no such thing as a green worker over there. They're all phenomenal. But, you know, they're the younger guys, the lower and middle card all live in the dojo. And I actually slept in the same bed that Bruiser Brody slept in when he was with All Japan, which was pretty cool. And, you know, we were over there, and, I mean, you're touring, and on the days that you're not touring and you don't have a show, you're training in the ring at the dojo. You know, you're working out with the Japanese guys. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. I mean, All Japan, any Japan wrestling, the wrestling over there is kind of like baseball is in the United States. It's like the national pastime. Like, and they still think it's real. You know, they still believe. And it was a phenomenal experience. Just every day I was over there. I actually got to perform in Sumo Hall in front of 14,000 people, which was awesome. And we actually performed in Nagano, which is where the Winter Olympics were held one year, so that was pretty cool. But, I mean, it was phenomenal, just being over there. And I was stationed in Japan when I was in the Navy, so I spoke the language a little bit and everything. But, you know, when you're in the Navy, you're still kind of getting the Americanized experience of Japan. When you're there with All Japan, when you're over there wrestling, you live in Japan. There is no English. There is no, you know, I mean, all the wrestlers speak enough English so you can talk to them, but, you know, there's no American anything. You're in Japan, and you're immersed, and the culture is just phenomenal. It was a great experience. And, again, I learned more over there in 2 months than I learned over here in 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's phenomenal over there.
Okay, my question is, what is your most memorable moment, you know, from watching wrestling and actually in your career so far?
Ooh, watching